On my honeymoon, my father broke into the motel room, took off his belt and shouted, "Me first, then him," but he didn't expect my husband was hiding in the closet with something sharp in his hands. That night, his blood stained the floor, and I was finally free. Good afternoon, my dear ones. Good afternoon, my sweet friends. It's so good to have you here with me again. Come on in, make yourselves comfortable, because today, Grandma Sarah has a story to tell that will make you understand just how strange and terrifying life can be, but also how it can turn around when you least expect it. I'm here in my kitchen, in Cedar Falls, Iowa, preparing some cinnamon sugar donuts for my grandkids who are coming to visit this afternoon. Look, the smell of the hot oil, the cinnamon and sugar. It's enough to make anyone's mouth water, you know? I'm 78 years old with a life well lived, and I can say that every wrinkle on my face tells a story. Some are sweet like these donuts here, others are bitter as gall. I was born in Des Moines, also here in Iowa, at a time when things were very different from today. I learned to make these donuts from my mother, God rest her soul, when I was still a little girl. She said the recipe came from her grandmother, from Scotland, and that as long as I knew how to make these donuts, I would never go hungry and never let my family go hungry. And look, my mother was right. Today I make these donuts to sell at the church bake sale every Sunday, and it's a joy to see people buying, praising, asking for more. But before I continue my story, I wanted to ask a special favor from those of you watching now. Those of you on the other side of the screen, following along while I mix this batter here, could you do this grandma a little favor? Click that red subscribe button down there and turn on the notification bell because I post videos every week telling stories from my life. And you know what? Tell me here in the comments, what town are you watching from? And what time of day did you find Grandma's video? In the morning? Having your coffee? After lunch? Taking a little rest? Or in the evening before bed? I read all the comments, every single one, and I'm so happy to know where you're from and what time of day you chose to listen to me. Let's create a chain of love here. Tell me, it doesn't cost anything. Well, back to my story. Today I want to tell you about the most terrifying day of my life. The day that should have been the happiest. The first day of my honeymoon, but which turned into a nightmare of blood and despair. You saw it at the beginning, right? My own father broke into the motel room where I was with my newlywed husband, and what he wanted to do to me. Well, my children, I'm going to tell you everything in the smallest details so you understand how a man can turn into a monster when he thinks he has power over someone. This story isn't easy to tell. Even today, when I close my eyes, I see the scene. I hear the screams. I see the blood on the floor of that room. But I survived. And if I'm here today, making donuts in my warm kitchen, with my grandchildren playing in the backyard, it's because that night I learned something. We don't have to accept evil just because it comes from those who should protect us. We can, and should, fight back. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable there, and come with me on this journey. Because this story begins long before that night at the motel. It begins back in my childhood in Des Moines, when I was still an innocent girl who didn't know that the greatest danger of my life slept in the room next to mine. Childhood in Des Moines. I was born in 1947, right after the war ended in Europe, in a simple wooden house on the outskirts of Des Moines. It was a small house with 3 bedrooms, with hardwood floors that creaked when you walked barefoot. The kitchen had a big black wood-burning stove that my mother, Helen, kept always lit, even in Iowa's hot summer. The backyard was big, had apple trees, pear trees, and some beds of mint and rosemary that perfumed everything when it rained. My father's name was Walter Mitchell. Everyone in the neighborhood called him Mr. Walter, with that forced respect that people had for tough men. He was a blacksmith, worked at a shop downtown, fixing farm tools, making gates, window bars. He was a strong man, with big, calloused hands, with a thick mustache always trimmed. He didn't smile much. In fact, I don't remember seeing my father really laugh even half a dozen times in my entire childhood. My mother, Helen, was the opposite of him. She was petite, with brown hair always pulled back in a bun, and had a sweet smile that calmed any storm. She took care of us, did laundry in the backyard wash tub, cooked, sewed, did everything. She hummed while she worked, old songs her mother had taught her. I loved being near her in the kitchen, watching her knead bread, prepare dinner, make apple pie when the fruit fell from the tree. I had 2 older brothers, Richard, who was 6 years older than me, and Thomas, 4 years older. Both helped my father at the shop from an early age, learning the trade. I was the youngest and the only girl. And that, my children, was the beginning of the problem. My father always treated me differently from my brothers. With them, he was strict but fair, taught them the work, demanded discipline, but let them go play ball at the park on Sundays, let them go out with friends. With me, it was different. With me, he was, how can I explain? He was possessive. From very young, he didn't like me to go far from home. When I was about 6, 7 years old, the girls from the street would come call me to play jump rope, hopscotch, dolls on the sidewalk. But if my father was home, he'd open the window and yell, "Sarah, get inside! Good girls don't stay in the street like shameless boys." I didn't understand. The other girls played in the street all day. But I had to stay in the backyard, alone, playing with the rag dolls my mother made for me. My mother tried to soften things. She'd say, "Your father loves you too much, Sarah, honey. He just wants to protect you." But there was something about the way he looked at me that gave me a tightness in my chest, even though I was a child and didn't know how to name it. When I turned 8, I started studying at the public elementary school, about 4 blocks from home. My mother took me in the morning and picked me up at lunchtime. But when I turned 9, my father decided I was too big to go alone. He started picking me up from school. He'd arrive at the door in the middle of all the other children with their parents and stand there, arms crossed, watching me come out. My little friends started to be afraid of him. Nancy, my best friend at the time, once told me, "Sarah, your dad always looks angry. Doesn't he like me?" I said it was nothing, that he was just like that, but deep down I also felt that weight. At home, the routine was rigid. I woke up early, helped my mother prepare breakfast, bread with butter, milk, sometimes warm cornbread. My brothers and father ate in silence, quickly, because they had to leave early for the shop. Then I went to school, came back, had lunch, and spent the afternoon helping my mother with housework. She taught me to sew, to iron, to knit. I liked that, liked being near her. It was in those moments that I felt safe. But when my father came home at the end of the day, the air changed. He'd sit in the rocking chair on the porch, light a cigarette, and stay there, watching the street. I felt he was watching everything, who passed by, who talked to my mother, where I was. If I stayed too long in the backyard, he'd call, "Sarah, come here, stay where I can see you." And I'd go, with my heart tight, sit on the step near him, quiet, until dinner time. My mother noticed. I saw it in her eyes. Sometimes, when my father went out to buy cigarettes or talk to a neighbor, she'd hug me and say, "My daughter, your father is a difficult man. But he doesn't mean harm. You just need to obey and not give him reason to get nervous." I accepted that as truth. After all, I was a child. What did I know about the world? When I turned 11, my body started to change, and that's when my father's behavior became even stranger. He started making comments about the clothes I wore. "That skirt's too short, Helen, make her a longer one." Or, "That blouse is too tight. Young ladies can't walk around like that." My mother obeyed, silent. She made loose, dark clothes that hid everything. I looked like a 40-year-old woman, not an 11-year-old girl. At 12, I got my first period. My mother explained everything to me lovingly, gave me the pads, taught me to wash, to hide. But somehow, my father found out. I don't know if it was from the laundry on the line or if my mother told him. I think she told him because she thought it was her duty. That night at dinner, my father looked at me differently, a look that froze me inside. He said very loudly, in front of my brothers, "Now you've become a young woman, Sarah, and young women attract danger. From today on, you don't leave this house without my permission, and if any boy comes near you, I'll break his legs." My brothers lowered their heads and continued eating. My mother was silent, and I felt that something had changed forever. I didn't know what it was, but I felt it. It was as if a door had closed and a shadow had entered my life. The following years got heavier. My father wouldn't let me go out anymore, not even to friends' houses, not to church on Sundays, only if he went along. He watched me all the time, and when I turned 16, 17, his control became suffocating. But I still didn't know that the worst was yet to come. I still didn't know that this man, who should protect me, would become my greatest nightmare. Meeting Benjamin. When I turned 18 in 1965, my life was a prison. I had no real friends, didn't go to dances, didn't go to the movies. My father had turned me into a shadow inside my own home. I helped my mother with everything, cooking, washing, sewing, tending the garden, but had no permission for anything beyond those four walls in the backyard. The few times I went out was to go to church on Sundays, always with my father by my side, holding my arm as if I was going to run away at any moment. It was at one of those church services that I met Benjamin. It was a Sunday in April. The weather was cool, that nice spring chill we have here in the Midwest. After the service, there was a potluck in the church courtyard, selling hot dogs, pie, barbecue. My father had stopped to talk to some men from the shop, and my mother had gone to buy some food to take home. I stood there, by the church wall, watching the activity, when a young man approached. He was tall, dark-haired, with a crooked smile that made my heart skip. He took off his cap and said, "Good afternoon, miss. My name is Benjamin Miller. I'm a mechanic, work at Mr. Thompson's shop over on Station Street. I see you every week at church, and I wanted to know if you'd give me the honor of knowing your name." I turned red as a beet. No one had ever talked to me like that. I could barely respond. I'm Sarah Mitchell." He smiled even more, and was going to say something when my father appeared. His face turned purple with rage. He grabbed my arm so hard I felt the marks of his fingers for days. "Who are you?" my father yelled at Benjamin, drawing everyone's attention. Benjamin wasn't intimidated. He looked my father in the eyes and said, respectfully but firmly, "My name is Benjamin Miller, sir. I'm a mechanic, work with Mr. Thompson. I was just greeting Miss Sarah." My father growled, "Well, stay away from my daughter. She's not for broke boys to be hitting on." And he pulled me from there, almost dragging me, while my mother came behind, scared, holding the bag of food. On the way home, my father wouldn't stop talking. You see the type of dog that hits on you when I take my eyes off you? That's why I can't leave you alone, Sarah. Men only want one thing, and you're too naive to realize it." But I couldn't stop thinking about Benjamin, about that smile, about that gentle voice. For the first time in my life, I felt someone had looked at me like a person, not like property. 2 weeks later, Benjamin did something no man in Des Moines had the courage to do. He came to my house to ask to date me. My father was at the shop, so it was my mother who answered the door. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when I heard his voice. My heart raced. I dropped everything and went to the living room. Benjamin was there, standing, holding his cap with both hands, all dressed up, clean clothes and hair combed with pomade. He said to my mother, "Mrs. Helen, I come here with the best intentions. I'd like to ask permission to get to know Sarah better, to be able to date her if she accepts. I have a steady job, don't drink, don't gamble, and I'll treat your daughter with all the respect in the world." My mother didn't know what to do. She looked at me, saw the hope in my eyes, and sighed. "Young man, I can't decide this. You'll have to talk to her father. But I warn you, he won't like it." Benjamin said he'd come back when my father was home, and he really did that same night. I was helping my mother prepare dinner when we heard the knock on the door. My father went to answer. When he saw Benjamin, I saw the fury in his eyes. "What do you want here?" my father asked, blocking the door with his body. Benjamin didn't tremble. He said, "Mr. Walter, I came to ask your permission to date Sarah. I'm a good man, work hard, and have the best intentions with your daughter." My father gave a dry laugh, without humor. "You think I'm going to put my daughter in the hands of a mechanic with nothing to his name? You have nothing, boy, and Sarah isn't for you. She'll stay here at home with me and her mother until I decide who she'll marry, and it won't be you." Benjamin tried to argue. "But sir, I can prove I'm a good man. Give me a chance to—" "Get out of my sight before I break you in half," my father yelled, and slammed the door in Benjamin's face. I felt tears rolling down my face. My mother hugged me, but said nothing. My brothers were in the living room, looking at the floor, ashamed. No one ever confronted my father. No one. But Benjamin didn't give up. During the following months, he found a way to meet me in secret. He started attending the same church service as me, always staying at a safe distance from my father. He sent me little notes through Nancy, my childhood friend who worked at the bakery. I read those notes hidden in my room, at night, and cried with happiness and fear at the same time. My father started to suspect. He became even more vigilant. He started locking me in the house when he went to work. Took the key to the backyard gate so I couldn't go out even to get firewood or hang laundry without him being around. He'd say, "It's for your protection, Sarah. The world out there is full of bad men. I'm the only one who really loves you and wants what's best for you." But I was beginning to realize that this wasn't love. This was sickness. This was prison. When I turned 21 in 1968, Benjamin saved up courage and money to buy a small house on the outskirts of town. He sent me a note saying, "Sarah, I want to marry you. I'll never give up on you. If you want, we'll elope and get married at the courthouse. I'll protect you from your father. Trust me." It took me months to gather courage, months afraid of what my father would do if he found out. But deep in my heart, I knew. Either I ran away with Benjamin, or I would die suffocated in that house. So, one day in January 1969, 2 months before I turned 22, I ran away. The escape and wedding. It was a Saturday morning. My father had gone to the shop to get some tools, and I had half an hour of freedom. I packed some clothes in a bundle, wrote a note to my mother asking for forgiveness, and left through the back door. Benjamin was waiting for me at the corner in his old car. We went straight to the courthouse and got married, just with 2 witnesses who were his friends. When my father found out, hours later, he went to Benjamin's house like a madman. He pounded on the door, yelled threats, said he was going to kill Benjamin and drag me back home. But Benjamin didn't open the door. He held me tight, hid me in the bedroom, and yelled through the window, "Sarah is now my wife. We got married. You have no more power over her." My father roared, "She'll always be mine. You'll see, you'll see." And he left. But that threat kept echoing in the air, and I knew deep in my soul that it wasn't over. My father wasn't going to give up on me. Never. The first days of marriage, terror. The first days of being married should have been the happiest of my life, but they weren't. They were days of pure terror. After my father left yelling threats that afternoon, we thought he'd calm down with time, that he'd accept I was a married woman, that I'd made my choice. But we were wrong. My father wasn't the type to accept losing control. In the first 3 days, he showed up at Benjamin's house every single day, morning, afternoon, night. He'd bang on the door hard, yell from the gate, "Sarah, come out! You don't belong to that boy! You're my daughter! Mine!" I'd stay hidden in the bedroom, trembling, praying for him to leave. Benjamin would stay at the door, blocking, firm, saying he wasn't going to open, that I was fine, that it was better he leave before they called the police. But my father wasn't afraid of police. He knew half the town in Des Moines. He was respected, or rather, feared. People didn't mess with Mr. Walter. On the 4th day, he changed strategy. He stopped banging on the door and started following us. When Benjamin left for work in the morning, My father was on the corner, leaning against a pole, smoking, watching. When Benjamin came home at the end of the day, my father was there again, watching me through the window with those eyes full of rage and something else, something that made me sick. It was as if he couldn't accept that I belonged to another man now, as if that was a personal betrayal against him. I started having nightmares. I'd dream my father broke into the house in the middle of the night, that he dragged me back to that prison, that he hurt Benjamin. I'd wake up sweating, heart racing, and Benjamin would hug me and say, "He won't take you, Sarah. I won't let him. I'd rather die than let him lay a hand on you." One night, a week after the wedding, we were having dinner when we heard the sound of breaking glass. Benjamin ran to the front window and saw my father had thrown a rock through the living room window. The rock was wrapped in paper. Benjamin picked up the paper, opened it, and read aloud, voice trembling with anger. "You can run, but you can't hide. You'll always be mine. Always." I collapsed on the floor, crying. It wasn't just fear, it was despair. It was the feeling that I would never be free of him, that this man was going to chase me until the end of my days. Benjamin went to the police station the next day and filed a report. The sheriff, a middle-aged man with a tired face, heard everything and said, "Look, son, I understand the situation, but what can I do? He's her father, and technically he didn't assault anyone. It was just a rock through the window. You want me to arrest a man for that? Better you folks move to another city or wait for him to calm down." We left there feeling there was no way out. The law wasn't going to protect us. No one was going to protect us. That's when Benjamin had the idea. The plan. Honeymoon. He said, "Sarah, we need to get out of here for a few days. Let's have our honeymoon. Let's go to a place where your father doesn't know where we are. Just a few days so we can breathe, so he can calm down. And when we get back, if he continues, I'll take more serious measures." I agreed. I needed to get out of that house, that city, that feeling of being hunted all the time. We didn't have money to travel far. Niagara Falls, the Grand Canyon, those places people went on honeymoons. But Benjamin had a friend who recommended a new, nice motel on the outskirts of town, a discreet place with private rooms with closed garages. "We'll stay there one night, rest, and tomorrow we'll decide what to do," Benjamin said. It seemed like a good idea, a safe, private place where no one would find us. On the appointed day, February 15th, 1969, it was a hot summer afternoon. We packed a small bag with clothes to spend the night. Benjamin put in the car that toolbox he always carried. He never left without it, because there was always someone asking a favor, some broken car on the road. We left home in the late afternoon when the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky orange and pink. I was nervous, but also hopeful. Finally, we were going to have a moment just for us, away from my father, away from that constant tension. Benjamin held my hand while he drove and said, "Tomorrow will be a new day, Sarah. You'll see. We'll figure all this out." The motel was about 20 minutes outside the city on a road lined with oak trees. It was a beautiful place, well-maintained, with gardens and those separate little cabins, each with its own garage. We arrived when the sky was already dark, just with the stars beginning to appear. Benjamin paid at the reception, got the key, and we went to room number 7. The room was simple but clean, with a big double bed, a wooden wardrobe, thick curtains. The garage had a sliding door that opened directly into the room. Benjamin pulled the car in, closed the garage door, and locked everything. "There," he said, smiling for the first time in days. "Now, we're safe." I started to relax. I took off my shoes, sat on the bed, looked around. There was a small window in the bathroom with frosted glass. There was the built-in wardrobe, big, with sliding doors. Everything seemed calm. Everything seemed safe. Benjamin went to the window that faced the back of the motel to close the curtain. He pulled the fabric and looked outside, distracted. Suddenly he froze. His face turned white as paper. "Sarah," he said with a low, controlled voice, but I felt the panic behind it. "Turn off the light. Now." "But why?" I asked, confused. "Do what I'm telling you," he said, in a tone I'd never heard. I turned off the light, my heart already starting to race again. Benjamin came to me, knelt in front of me, held my hands. Even in the dark, I saw the fear in his eyes. "Sarah, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. Your father's out there. He's behind the motel. He must have followed us. He knows we're here. And he's coming." I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. No, Benjamin, it can't be. How did he? I don't know how, but he's coming. I saw him jumping the low fence in the back just now. Sarah, he knows which room is ours. He must have seen us coming in. Terror took over me. I started to shake, my teeth chattering. What do? We call the reception. Benjamin cut me off. If we call, he runs and comes back tomorrow, or the day after, or next week. Sarah, he won't stop. Never. We need to end this today, here, now. How? I asked, almost in a whispered scream. How do we end this? And that's when Benjamin had the idea. An idea that would change everything forever. The trap. Benjamin stood up quickly, but controlled. He spoke low, but each word came out with a determination I'd never seen in him. Sarah, listen. I have a plan, but you need to trust me. Do you trust me? I grabbed his hands, trembling. I trust you. I trust you. Then do exactly what I'm going to tell you. He pointed to the bed. You're going to lie on the bed, on your side, with your back to the door. You'll pretend you're sleeping. Let your hair cover your face. Don't move, no matter what happens, no matter what you hear. Don't look back. Understood? I felt my stomach turn. Benjamin, what are you going to do? He took a deep breath. I'm going out through the garage door. I'm going to get something from the car, and I'm coming back. And I'm going to hide. When he comes in here, and he will come in, I'm sure. I'll be waiting. And this time, Sarah, this ends. One way or another, this ends today. My voice came out in a thread. You're going to hurt him? Benjamin held my face with both hands, and for the first time I saw tears in his eyes. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you. He wants to take you. He wants to hurt you. And I won't let him. Never. I'd rather spend the rest of my life in jail than let him lay a finger on you. He kissed me on the forehead, then on the mouth, quick but intense, as if it were the last time. And then he went out through the little garage door. I heard him open the car trunk, the sound of metal against metal, tools being moved. My heart was beating so hard it seemed like a drum in my chest. I prayed quietly. My God, protect us. My God, protect Benjamin. Don't let anything bad happen. When he came back into the room, the little light coming through the crack in the curtain illuminated what he was holding. A machete with a wide blade, one of those he used at his uncle's farm to cut brush, clear paths. The blade gleamed, cold, deadly. I'd never seen that object as a weapon. It had always been a tool, but at that moment, seeing it there in Benjamin's hand, I understood. That could save my life, or destroy his. My heart almost came out of my mouth. Benjamin. Lie down, he said firmly, now, and unlock the door. If he finds it locked, he'll break it down and make noise. We want him to come in thinking everything's calm. Every part of me screamed not to do it. Every instinct told me to run, to scream, to call for help. But I looked into Benjamin's eyes and saw there the only person in the world who really wanted to save me. So I obeyed. I unlocked the door slowly, without making noise. Each click of the lock seemed like a shot in the silence of the room. I lay on the bed, on my side, back to the entrance, with my hair spread on the pillow covering my face. I tried to relax my body, make it look like I was really sleeping, but every muscle was tense as a violin string. I heard Benjamin getting into the built-in wardrobe, that big one with sliding doors, which faced right toward the bed. He left the door slightly open, just a thin crack. Then, silence. Absolute silence. I don't know how much time passed, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. It seemed like an eternity. Every second was agony. I breathed slowly, trying not to shake, trying to look like I was sleeping. My heart was beating so hard I was sure he'd hear it from outside. I heard the crickets singing outside, the wind shaking the trees, the distant sound of cars passing on the road, and nothing else. I started to think, did Benjamin make a mistake? Did my father give up? Did he leave? But deep down, I knew he hadn't. I knew that man. He didn't give up. Never. And then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, careful. On the small porch outside the room, someone testing the doorknob slowly, seeing if it was locked. My blood froze. It was him. He had come. The invasion. The door opened. Slowly, without a creak. My father had opened the door and was entering the room. I heard the door closing again behind him, slowly, carefully. He didn't want to make noise. He thought we were sleeping, that we were vulnerable. I closed my eyes tightly, but I could feel it. His presence, the smell of cigarette smoke that always stuck to his clothes, the smell of sweat, the weight of footsteps on the wooden floor. He was approaching the bed, slowly, step by step. I tried to control my breathing, tried to look like I was sleeping, but inside I was screaming. "Benjamin, he's coming! He's right here, for God's sake, Benjamin!" He stopped beside the bed, right next to me, so close I could feel the heat of his body. I felt him looking at me, looking at my body lying there. And then I heard his breathing, heavy, panting, as if he'd been running, or as if he was excited about something. And then came the sound that made me want to vomit, the unmistakable sound of the metal buckle being undone. He was taking off his belt. Slowly. The leather sliding through the belt loops, that sound I knew so well from my childhood, when he'd take off his belt to hit my brothers when they disobeyed. My mind screamed, "Benjamin, where are you? For God's sake, where are you?" But I couldn't move, couldn't look, had to pretend I was sleeping. And then he spoke. His voice low, hoarse, full of a sick rage that made my whole skin crawl. "You thought you'd run away from me? You thought that boy was going to protect you?" I felt him leaning down, his breath on my neck, his voice whispering, venomous. "No one takes what's mine, Sarah. No one. You were always mine, always will be." I heard the leather of the belt being wrapped around his hand, the sound of the leather stretching, and then, in a whisper that chilled me to the bone, "Me first, then him." He raised his arm. I felt the movement of air above me. He was going to hit me, or tie me up, or something worse, much worse. Things I didn't even want to imagine. And that's when the closet exploded. The attack. There was no war cry, no warning. Benjamin came out of there like lightning, in absolute silence, his bare feet making no sound on the floor. Before my father could lower his arm, before the belt could touch me, before he could even turn his head, I heard the sound. A sound I'll never forget for the rest of my life. The sound of metal cutting through flesh and bone. A wet, horrible sound, followed by a scream. My father screamed, a scream of pure pain and surprise. The belt flew to the side, hitting the wall. I turned on the bed, heart exploding in my chest, and saw my father fallen to his knees on the floor, his face white as paper, eyes wide with shock. He was holding his right arm, the arm he'd raised to hit me, and the arm was hanging at a horrible, strange, unnatural angle. Blood gushing between his fingers, running on the floor, staining his shirt, the wooden floor. Benjamin was standing in front of him, legs apart, firm, the machete still in his right hand, the blade red and dripping. His breathing was heavy, chest rising and falling, but his eyes. Benjamin's eyes were cold, determined, without fear. My father tried to get up, staggering, still holding his arm. You bastard! You cut me! Benjamin didn't let him finish. He gave a strong kick to my father's chest, throwing him against the wall. My father's head hit the wood with a dull thud that echoed in the room. He slid down the wall, ending up half sitting on the floor, moaning in pain. Benjamin walked to him, put a knee on his chest, pressing, and put the tip of the machete at his throat. Right there on the vein pulsing in the neck. My father froze, eyes wide, finally truly afraid. Benjamin's voice came out low, controlled, but so full of rage and determination that even I felt a shiver. You're listening carefully to what I'm going to tell you, you sick bastard? You broke into your own daughter's honeymoon. You were going to do God knows what to her. You're sick. A monster. But now you're going to listen to me very carefully. He pressed the tip of the machete a little more, making a drop of blood appear. If you come near her again, if you look at her again, if you breathe the air she breathes, I'll come back, and next time I won't aim for the arm. I'll aim here. He pressed a little more. Understood? My father was white as wax, sweating cold, lips trembling. He moaned. It's burning. My arm's burning. I'm going to die. You're not going to die. Benjamin cut him off. You'll live. But you'll live knowing you tried to destroy your own daughter and lost. You'll live with that useless hand for the rest of your life, and every time you look at it, you'll remember, I lost. She's free. And I'll never touch her again. I got up from the bed, my legs shaking, barely holding myself up. I turned on the room light. What I saw made my head spin and stomach turn. There was blood spread on the floor, on the wall, on my father's clothes. His arm was destroyed. The shirt sleeve was torn, soaked in red. But he was alive. Benjamin hadn't killed him. He had cut the arm my father was going to use to hurt me. He had cut his power, had cut his control over me. Benjamin turned to me, still holding the machete, still with that hard, determined expression on his face. But when he saw my face, pale, scared, crying, his expression softened a little. Sarah, go to the reception. Call the police and ambulance, now. I'll stay here with him. I won't let him leave. Go. The aftermath I ran. I ran barefoot through the porch, through the gardens lit by the motel's little lights, to the reception. The lady who was at the counter, a middle-aged woman with her hair up, was startled when she saw me. Disheveled, without shoes, crying, clothes all wrinkled. Miss, for God's sake, what happened? She asked, getting up from the chair. Please, I sobbed. Call the police. Call the ambulance. My father broke into our room. He tried. He was going to hurt me. My husband had to defend himself. The woman turned pale, grabbed the phone and started dialing quickly. I heard her talking to the police, then to the hospital, giving the address, saying it was urgent. The police arrived in 15 minutes. The ambulance came together, the siren tearing through the quiet night. When the officers entered room number 7, they saw the scene. My father on the floor, leaning against the wall, holding his bloody arm, moaning softly. Benjamin sitting in the corner chair, the machete on the bed, hands clean, waiting calmly. Benjamin didn't try to run, didn't try to lie. When the older officer asked what had happened, he told the truth, looking straight into the man's eyes. This man is my wife's father. He's stalked us for a week since we got married. Today, he followed us here and broke into the room where I was with her. He took off his belt and threatened her. I was hiding in the closet and attacked to defend her. I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted to stop him. And I stopped him. The officers looked at me. I told them everything. A lifetime of control and suffocation. The stalking after the wedding. The threats. The rock through the window. The police report we'd already filed at the station. Everything. One of the officers, an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, looked at my father with a mixture of disgust and pity. "You broke into a motel room where your married daughter was with her husband?" he asked, voice hard. "And you tried to assault her?" My father didn't answer. He just moaned in pain, sweating, face contorted. The officer turned to Benjamin. "You'll have to come to the station to give a formal statement, but from what I'm seeing here, and from what your wife told us, it was self-defense. And this gentleman here," he pointed at my father with disdain, "will be arrested as soon as he leaves the hospital. Home invasion and attempted assault, at minimum." The paramedics came in, put my father on a stretcher, made a tourniquet on his arm. As they took him away, my father looked at me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't see anger in those eyes. I saw fear and defeat. Benjamin and I went to the police station. We spent the whole night there, giving statements, answering questions, telling the whole story again and again. But when the sun rose the next day, painting the sky pink and gold, we walked out free. And for the first time in my life, I breathed the air of true freedom. Freedom bought with blood, but freedom nonetheless. My father was arrested for home invasion and attempted assault. At the hospital, the doctor said the cut had been so deep that he'd lost movement in his right hand forever. The hand he used to work. The hand he'd raised to hit me. That hand never worked again. He served 6 months in jail. When he got out, he never came near me again. Never spoke to me again. Never. The man who thought he had all the power over me had been destroyed by the courage of a humble mechanic who truly loved me. A new beginning in Cedar Falls. The days following that night at the motel were the strangest of my life. We went back to Benjamin's little house in Des Moines the next day, still dazed, still processing everything that had happened. I could barely sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the scene again. The machete coming down, the blood, my father's scream. And at the same time, I felt something I'd never felt before. Relief. Deep, liberating relief. Benjamin was also different. He'd done something he never imagined he'd do. Seriously injured another human being. But when I looked into his eyes and asked if he regretted it, he'd hold my hands and say, "Sarah, I'd do it all again. 1,000 times. You were in danger. I wasn't going to let that man hurt you. Never." News of what happened spread through Des Moines like wildfire through dry grass. Small town, everyone knows everyone's business. Some people looked at us with pity, others with morbid curiosity. Others with admiration, especially women, who'd come up to me on the street, hold my hand and whisper, "You were lucky to have a brave husband. Not every man would have done what yours did." My mother came to visit me a week later. She knocked on the door timidly, eyes red from crying so much. When I opened, she hugged me tight and asked for forgiveness. "Sarah, my daughter, forgive me. I knew your father was controlling, but I never imagined he was capable of that. I should have protected you better. I should have gotten you out of that house long ago." I cried with her. "Mom, it wasn't your fault. You were also his prisoner. You were also afraid." She told me that my father, after leaving the hospital with his arm in a sling and unable to move his fingers, had become a destroyed man. Bitter. Silent. He didn't work anymore. Couldn't hold tools properly with only one hand. My brothers, Richard and Thomas, had taken over the shop. And they'd made it very clear to our father, "If you go near Sarah again, we'll turn you in to the police ourselves. We don't want to know what you did anymore." Knowing this brought me a peace I didn't expect. My own brothers had taken my side. My mother had taken my side. I wasn't alone anymore. But living in Des Moines became heavy. Everywhere I went, there was someone looking, commenting, asking. The town was too small to keep that kind of secret. I didn't want to be the girl who was attacked by her own father for the rest of my life. I wanted to start over. I wanted to live. That's when Benjamin had the idea. He had a cousin in Cedar Falls, a town about 2 hours from Des Moines, also here in Iowa. The cousin, named Theodore, owned a car repair shop and was looking for a partner. Benjamin went there to talk and came back excited. "Sarah, we could go there, start over. A new town, new people, new life. What do you think?" I didn't think twice. "Let's go. The sooner, the better." In March 1969, 2 months after that terrible night, we moved to Cedar Falls. We sold the little house in Des Moines, put our life in half a dozen boxes, and left one sunny morning. My mother came to say goodbye, hugged me crying, made me promise I'd visit. My brothers also came and gave me money secretly to help with the move. "We love you, sister. You deserve to be happy." Cedar Falls was different from Des Moines. It was bigger, busier, with more commerce, more people. No one knew us. No one knew our story. We were just another young couple trying to build a life. And that was all I wanted. Benjamin became Theodore's partner in the shop, and the business prospered. He was hardworking, honest, good at what he did. I, in turn, started making cakes and sweets to sell. I remembered my mother's recipes, the things she'd taught me in the kitchen. I started making them for neighbors, then for their friends, and soon I had a steady clientele. Cinnamon sugar donuts, banana bread, honey cakes, cornbread. Every dollar that came in was a victory. Every day without fear was a miracle. In 1970, I discovered I was pregnant. When I told Benjamin, he lifted me in the air and gave a shout of joy that all the neighbors heard. I laughed, cried, and for the first time felt I had a future ahead. A real future, with a family of my own, built on love, not fear. Building a family. My daughter, Larissa, was born in November 1970. She was tiny, pink, perfect. When I held her in my arms for the first time, I made a promise. "My daughter, you'll never go through what I went through. You'll grow up free. You'll be respected. You'll know that your body is yours, and no one has the right to control you. Never." 2 years later came William, then Lucy, then the youngest, James. 4 children, all raised with lots of love, lots of affection, and lots of conversation. Benjamin and I always talked a lot with them, about respect, about boundaries, about asking for help when something was wrong. None of our children grew up afraid of their parents. They grew up with love. With time, the wounds healed. I still had nightmares sometimes, would wake up sweating, thinking my father was at the door. But Benjamin was always by my side, hugging me, reminding me, "He can't hurt you anymore. You're safe. You're with me." I went back to visit my mother in Des Moines a few times a year. My father was never there during those visits. My brothers made sure of that. In 1982, 13 years after that night, my mother called me crying. My father had died. Heart attack. I didn't feel sadness. I felt relief and a little pity. Pity for the man he could have been, but chose not to be. I went to the wake, more for my mother than for him. I looked at his body in the coffin, that man who was once so big and terrifying in my life, and saw just a thin, small, finished old man. His right hand, even dead, was twisted, atrophied, useless. The permanent mark of the day he tried to destroy me and was destroyed. I didn't cry, but I prayed. I prayed that his soul would find the peace he never had in life. I prayed that wherever he was, he understood the evil he'd done. And I prayed thanking God for giving me Benjamin, for giving me the courage to escape, for giving me a second chance to live. My life today. The years passed. My children grew up, studied, got married, gave me grandchildren. Benjamin and I celebrated our silver anniversary, pearl golden. The shop prospered. My sweets business too. We bought a better house, with a big backyard, where I planted apple trees and pear trees, like the ones from my childhood. But this time, they were my trees, in my yard, in my house. A house no one could invade, a house where I was in charge. Today, when I look back, I see clearly. That night at the motel was the night I was truly born. It was the night I stopped being the imprisoned girl and became the free woman. It was horrible, it was bloody, it was traumatic. But it was the price of my freedom, and if I could go back, knowing what I know now, I'd do it all the same. Because freedom is priceless, and no one, not father, not husband, not anyone, has the right to imprison us. Today, here in Cedar Falls, at my 78 years, I live a life that the girl from Des Moines could never have imagined. A simple life, but free. And freedom, my dear ones, is the greatest luxury there is. I wake up every day at 5:30 in the morning. I don't need an alarm. My body already knows the time. Benjamin still sleeps a little longer. He's 81, and his bones hurt more than before, so I let him rest. I go down to the kitchen barefoot, turn on the light, put the kettle on the stove to make coffee. While the water heats, I open the kitchen window and see the sun rising behind the neighbors' houses, painting the sky that beautiful orange. And I give thanks. Every single day, I give thanks for being alive, for being here, for having made it. Tuesday and Thursday mornings are the days I make the cinnamon sugar donuts to sell at the church bake sale on Sundays. Just yesterday, I made 12 dozen. I mix the batter with my own hands. Flour, eggs, milk, sugar, cinnamon. The smell fills the whole house. Benjamin comes down from bed just from the smell, smiling, asking to taste. Just one, Sarah, just to see if it's good. I let him, because after 56 years of marriage, how can I deny a donut to the man who saved my life? My 4 children live here in Cedar Falls, too. Teresa, the oldest, is an English teacher at the public high school. She stops by almost every day after work, has coffee with me, tells me about her students' antics. She has 2 children, Gabriel, who's 23 and studying engineering, and Marianne, 19, who's in her 2nd year of nursing school. These 2 are always at my house, eating my donuts, asking me to make pot roast, mashed potatoes. William, my 2nd son, took over the shop when Benjamin retired. He's just like his father, a good mechanic, honest, hard-working. He has 3 children, Peter, Julia, and Luke. Peter is already 26, already married, gave me a great-granddaughter, little Valentina, 2 years old, who's the light of my eyes. When she comes to my house, she runs straight to the kitchen yelling, "Grandma, donut, donut!" And I just melt. Lucy, my 3rd, works at City Hall in social services. She inherited my soft heart. She's always bringing people here, women who were beaten by their husbands and need a place to stay for a few days, children who are in need and need clothes and food. I never say no, never, because I know what it's like to need help and not have it. Lucy has twin sons, Raphael and Daniel, 16 years old, who are pure chaos but have hearts of gold. And there's James, my youngest, who became a priest. That's right, my dear ones, a priest. He celebrates Mass at the church in the neighborhood nearby. When he told me he had a vocation, I cried with joy. After everything I went through, having a priest son, a son who dedicates his life to helping others, seemed like a gift from God. He doesn't have children, of course, but he's godfather to all the grandchildren, and they love their priest uncle. Every Sunday after James's Mass, I set up my little booth at the church bake sale. I take my donuts, my breads, my honey cakes. I stay there from 9 in the morning until noon. I could just give the sweets to James to distribute for free, but I like to sell. I like talking to people, seeing people taste them and close their eyes with satisfaction. I like earning my little money, even if it's little, because every bill I receive is fruit of my work, of my freedom. No one tells me what to do. No one controls what I do with the money I earn. In the afternoon, when I come back from the bake sale on Sundays, the house fills up. My children all come for lunch. It's tradition. I make a barbecue in the backyard. Benjamin grills the meat. The grandkids play ball. The granddaughters chat on the porch. There's noise, there's mess, there are children fighting, there's laughter. And I stand there in the middle of it all, watching and thinking, this is it. This is what I survived for. During the week, When I'm not making sweets, I take care of the garden in the backyard. I planted lettuce, arugula, cherry tomatoes, peppers, green onions, parsley. There are also the apple and pear trees I planted when we bought this house 30 years ago. Now they're big, give fruit every year. I make apple butter, pear jelly, distribute to neighbors, to the children, take to the bake sale. Tuesday afternoons I go to the senior citizens group here in the neighborhood. We meet at the community center, do light exercises, play bingo, have coffee, talk. There are some friends there who are my right arms, Mrs. Hortense, Mrs. Zelda, Mrs. Norma. They know my story, I told them one day in a conversation circle about domestic violence. And you know what they did? They hugged me and said I was the bravest woman they knew. I cried that day. I cried because I had finally become an example of overcoming, not of shame. Friday night is sacred, night to watch TV with Benjamin. We sit on the couch, me with my knitting, he with the newspaper, and we watch, comment on the show, root for the good guys, curse the villains. And every now and then, in the middle of the show, he holds my hand and squeezes. No need to say anything. We know. We won. We're here. Together. This is my life today. It doesn't have luxury. It doesn't have trips to Europe. It doesn't have an imported car. It doesn't have a mansion, but it has peace. It has love. It has freedom. It has dignity. And that, my dear ones, is worth more than all the gold in the world. My message to you. My dear ones, if there's one thing I've learned in these 78 years of life, it's that danger doesn't always come from a stranger. Sometimes the wolf lives inside your own home. Sometimes those who should protect you are those who imprison you most. I know there are many people watching now who live in a situation similar to what I lived. There are fathers who control too much. There are mothers who don't let their daughters breathe. There are families who think love is possession, who think care is prison. And I want to say something to you who are in this situation. You don't belong to anyone. You belong to yourself. It doesn't matter what they've told you your whole life. It doesn't matter if they said Father knows best, that it's all to protect you, that the world out there is dangerous. If you're feeling fear inside your own home, if you can't choose, if you can't breathe, this isn't protection. This is prison. And you have the right, no, you have the obligation to free yourself. It took me 22 years to understand this. 22 years thinking it was normal, that every father was like that I was ungrateful. But I wasn't. And when I finally found someone who looked at me as a person, not as property, I had the courage to escape. And it was the best decision of my life. If you're going through control, emotional abuse, threats within your own family, listen carefully. Run. Report it. Ask for help. It doesn't matter if it's your father, your mother, your brother. No one has the right to imprison you. Go to the police, look for a social worker, talk to someone you trust. In every city, in every country, there are people and organizations ready to help you get out of this situation. Don't believe when they say family is sacred to keep you hostage. Real family doesn't imprison. Real family liberates. I managed to get out because I had a brave man by my side who risked everything, even his freedom, to protect me. But not everyone has that. Sometimes you'll have to be your own savior. And you can. You're stronger than you imagine. That strength you used to survive until now? Use it to escape. Use it to start over. And look, I won't lie, it will be hard. There will be fear. There will be pain. There will be people judging, saying you abandoned your family. But freedom has a price. And I paid that price. And it was worth every tear, every sleepless night, every disapproving look. Because today, I sleep in peace. Today, I breathe. Today, I live. So, my dear ones, I want to make a special request now. If this story touched your heart, if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video. Subscribe to Grandparents' Tales. Turn on that notification bell now. Don't wait another minute. Because every person who hears this story could be a life saved. Could be a daughter, a son who will have the courage to leave prison and truly live. And leave me a word in the comments. Just write, freedom. I want to see how many people here understand that freedom is sacred, that freedom isn't negotiable, that freedom is worth more than blood. Do it now, for you, for those you love, for the girl I was and who you might be helping to free today. A kiss to each of your hearts, and remember, you deserve to be free. You always deserved it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Grandparents' Tales, and tell me in the comments what city and state you're watching from. Are you watching in the morning with your coffee, after lunch, or at night before bed? I read every single comment and love knowing where you all are from. Let's build a community of love and support here together.